And it's like, I could do this and then that, and then this could happen. But if this happens, then I would do that. And it's like, you're running all these scenarios and making all these contingency plans. But if you don't move forward, even the tiniest amount, you don't even know what your next steps are. You're like planning steps that you can't even see.
What is up, everybody, and welcome back to the podcast, Social Vibes Podcast. This is our second attempt. I know, I keep saying this on the beginning of every podcast, but this is our second attempt at this podcast with Meredith today because first, technical difficulties, just like the other one that I tried to record as well. So today we have Meredith. Would you like to introduce yourself? Tell the people who you are, what you do.
Yeah. Hey, Joe. Thanks for having me again. My name is Meredith. I have been a content creator on YouTube since about 2015. And basically, my channel is all about helping you look good, sound good, and feel good on camera so you can build your thriving online business with YouTube. It's taken a couple turns from starting to where I am now, but it's always kind of been about creating videos and that kind of like, nerdy stuff. And yeah, that's what I do. That's what I do.
That's awesome. Okay, so first, I'm not going to act like we didn't record the first one. How are you? How have you been since the last one? You been busy?
I've been, just doing summer stuff. Yeah. It's winding down, and it's kind of nice to be headed towards like a different change of pace, but also it's just as busy when you have kids. So it's like just a different season.
That was going to be my next question because I couldn't remember if you had kids or not. So you do? How old?
I have a 12-year-old and I have a almost 17-year-old, two daughters.
Okay. So wait, let's go back then. So in 2013, that's when you say you started YouTube?
2015 is that's when I started publishing weekly videos on YouTube and blogging.
So how old was your youngest at that point?
She was, I think, she was like three, just turning 4-ish.
Okay, so I am curious. I do want to ask you this because obviously I'm in the season now. How was it for you creating with a, pretty young child? For you guys who don't know, I have a newborn right now. And so I'm trying to find that balance. Like even right now I'm doing I challenge myself to, and you're going to think I'm crazy, which I probably am, but I challenge myself to delete all social media. So I don't have TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, or any of those things on my phone for the next 30 days. Wow. And I'm posting a YouTube video every single day. And I'm working out every single day. So last night that did not happen because I came home from a shoot. I was taking care of the baby. And so today I'm going to make up by doubling it up, but it is it's so hard to I'm learning to create and stay consistent with a younger child. So I'm curious of how that was for you as well.
Well, yeah. So it is tricky. It is challenging. I'm definitely not going to sit here and tell you, oh, it's so easy. You just have to prioritize your time because that's kind of like, yeah, duh. Like if you prioritize your time, you're always going to prioritize your family. Right. And so how do you find the time to prioritize these like weird little side projects like YouTube? So for me, I had a full-time job and my background is in web design. So I was a freelance web designer. And then I took a job being like an in-house web designer / social media person for a manufacturing company that made storage sheds. And because I was in the space of like web stuff and content stuff, and I was just kind of learning about this whole world of content creation as a business, like as a thing you can do to make your own money versus having a job or working with clients. The more I learned about it, the more I was like, I have all the skills to do that, or I know how to learn all the skills. It just seemed kind of like a no-brainer to me to figure it out for myself. So, and I also have a tendency as a creative person to start things, and then when I don't do it for a week, I'll be like, yeah, I'll get back to that, and then never do. So knowing that was my history with projects, I told myself, do it for a year, every week, upload a video, publish a blog post. What did I say? Do it for a year. Do it for a year, every week, post once a week for a year. And then decide if it's worth continuing and if it's worth doing it at all. Is it going to go anywhere? Because if you do it for like a couple weeks and then you're like, oh, I don't see any results. Well, of course not. You only did it for a couple of weeks. But I wanted to know that I was really pursuing something that would lead somewhere significant.
Yes.
So absolutely. I told myself, do it for a year. And so that's what I did. I published a video every week for a year, which is like the longest I ever committed to something creative. And by the end of that first year, I had 2,000 subscribers on YouTube. And I wasn't really trying to grow my YouTube because I set out to be a blogger. So to answer,
let's dive into that. No, let me.
Well, to answer your question, basically what I did was every week I knew I was going to publish a video and a blog post every Thursday. So I knew that by Wednesday I had to have it edited and ready to go. And so in order to have it done by Wednesday, I needed to have it like at least start or have the rough draft of the edit done by Tuesday. And so in order to have that done, I had to record it by Monday. In order to record it by Monday, I had to know on Sunday what the heck I was even doing that week. So with the kids being little, what I did was on Sundays, I had a list of video topics, blog post topics, and I would either know what I was going to work on that week or not and just pick from the list. And then if I had time on Sunday, like if my husband could like take the kids outside or something, if I had time to record, I would record. If not, I knew that I had like 45 minutes after work and before I had to pick up the kids from the sitter that I could set up my camera real quick, record, and then put everything away, and then not even really have to deal with it until Tuesday when I would start the edit. So it was like these little baby chunks throughout the week. And I always knew that like where those benchmarks were. If I didn't start editing on Tuesday because there was something going on that evening, I just would maybe stay up late, at least get a rough draft done, and then put it away until the next day and kind of work little bits at a time. And there were definitely days where like the kids had cereal for dinner, or, you know, we would have like pizza once a week or whatever, because I had to prioritize what I was doing in some way. It was like not so much a matter of, well, I don't have time for that, so I can't do it. I can't make a video. It was like, what can I create? Is there any type of video that I could create in the amount of time that I do have without neglecting my family? And
yes, absolutely.
So every week it was a little bit different, but for the most part, having those benchmarks throughout the week kept me on track. And if I was behind, I would at least publish the video on the weekend and just stay up late Friday night and know that I didn't have to be anywhere Saturday, so I could kind of like be a zombie and prioritize it.
Okay, so let's talk about the blog. So when did that start for you? Where did that passion come from? Let's talk about how that unfolded, because I know, again, we talked about it a little bit before, but like let's go back and talk about what year you began blogging, and your passion behind it. Like what inspired you to even want to do something like that?
So in 2013 or so my youngest would have been, I don't know, really little. She would have been like 2 at that point. I would have had a 2-year-old and a 6-year-old. I started to listen to a lot of podcasts like Smart Passive Income with Pat Flynn, for example, and explore this world of content creation. And I thought blogging was the way. Like this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to start a blog. I'm going to monetize it. I'm going to make as much money as I'm making at my full-time job, and then I'm going to quit my full-time job. And that's like, I've heard that story so many times that like, I like to call it the entrepreneurial love story of like, I started a thing and I made money and I quit my job. And it's like the thing that so many people are going after is the ability to quit their job because they have this business. And so I thought blogging was the thing I was going to do. And I just kind of waited for some idea, niche topic to come to me. And, it was, I think later that year, I bought a GoPro camera to use as a family camera. And I made a little video once. We had a big snowstorm. The kids went outside and were playing in the snow. And then they made Christmas cookies with my mom. And I just got the camera out and started filming it and put together this little video. And when I showed it to the kids, they were just enthralled in what they were watching because it was like their own little 5-minute movie about them. And just looking at their faces and thinking, wow, I just created this really cool thing that we can keep forever. And then I started realizing that everyone else is just kind of throwing their random iPhone pics up onto Facebook and kind of relying on that to be the archive of their family's memories. And so I started to think about, well, maybe I could help other people create these cute little family movies. And so that's kind of the light bulb that sparked where I went from there with like starting a blog, starting a YouTube channel, teaching people how to use a GoPro camera and how to edit GoPro videos from a family hobby perspective. Because as you know, or I don't know if your listeners will know, but a GoPro camera is an action camera. It's like people use it for surfing and skiing and jumping out of airplanes. But it's also perfect for taking your kids to a water park or throwing them out in the snow because it's basically indestructible and waterproof. And so I started creating content around that. And it just seemed like a no-brainer thing that I would need to create videos about creating videos. Like no one's going to read a blog post on how to use a camera, right? And so that just made sense to me. And I thought YouTube was the place where I was hosting the videos. And then it quickly became apparent that people actually watch YouTube videos and they hit subscribe and they leave comments and they ask questions and they form their own little community. And I didn't know that was... I feel like it seems so stupid to say I didn't know that was a thing, but because I didn't consume a lot of YouTube content at the time, I didn't know it was a thing from my own experience. I just thought... Well,
YouTube's still very new in general, and I think a lot of people don't think about that. Like, if you look up whenever the first, like, quote-unquote viral YouTube video was on, like, you would probably be surprised at how, like, relatively... like close to this date that was. And so I don't think that like YouTube is still growing. I know that sounds crazy, but it's still growing. There's still so much opportunity for everyone on the platform. And there are still people who don't even know what you were saying you didn't know back then. That's the craziest thing about the opportunity that you do have online when creating. And on that note, oh no, please, continue about how that moved into like you doing like YouTube from blogging.
Yeah. So once I started to realize that people were subscribing and commenting, and I was doing other social platforms like everyone else, like Instagram and Facebook and everything, which was like getting just a tiny fraction of the amount of engagement and views and subscribers and stuff as what YouTube was getting. I sort of went all in on YouTube, continued blogging. I mean, I still publish a blog post for every YouTube video because, Google juice is Google juice, whether it comes from YouTube or Google search results. And luckily, well, I say luckily, but I didn't get to quit my job because they restructured, moved to another state, and I lost my job. About like a year and 15 months after starting the whole YouTube blog thing. So it was nowhere near, not even close to like my actual full-time income, but there was enough happening there for me to know that it was a viable thing. So instead of going out to get a new job, I just went 100% in on the content creation business that I had started on the side. So that was 2016.
That's okay. So there are so many people out there now who everyone's heard this story, who's working at 9 to 5 that they don't enjoy. Maybe they deal with it better on some days than others because it's not as intense every day. But when it is intense or when it is hard, it's really, really hard. And they're afraid to take that leap into starting something that they've had an idea about for a while. They had a passion about for a while. I mean, it's not just creators. I think this is like, a place for creators, but I think it falls into so many categories, whether you're, a mom working as a receptionist and you want to start influencer marketing but you're afraid to take that leap. What would you say to some of these people after sharing now your experience of how you took that step? What would you say to them who have those ideas, dreams, but they're just afraid to take that step?
I would say you can't steer a parked car. So if you ever, when you were a kid, if you ever jumped into your kid's car and tried to pretend driving it, and then you probably got in trouble, you like grab a steering wheel and you feel like you're driving because you're steering, but like you can steer any which direction you want. If the car's not moving forward, it's not going anywhere. And I see this a lot with like clients and students, and they're thinking and thinking and planning. And it's like, I could do this and then that, and then this could happen. But if this happens, then I would do that. And it's like, you're running all these scenarios and making all these contingency plans. But if you don't move forward, even the tiniest amount, you don't even know what your next steps are. You're like planning steps that you can't even see. You can't even see that around the corner.
Yes.
And I think that probably it happens because, you feel like I need to know everything to do. Like I need to know what I'm doing in order to do it. But I'm pretty sure 100% of the people who have some kind of content creation business or any business at all, they figured out how to do it once they started doing it, not the other way around. And so taking small steps towards actually doing it, not setting it up, not starting your accounts, not going to get like business cards or something, but actually doing it. Once you start doing it, you'll find clarity along the way to what your next steps are. So I feel like it's sort of cliche to say, just do it, just get started. But honestly, that is the only way, is to take even the smallest of steps and then continue finding clarity as you go.
Yes, I agree. I'm over here. I'm like making markers like for good moments to clip, and I just keep hitting the clip button because you're saying such good things. Yeah, I totally agree. Because there are so many people who think, I need to get started on whatever it is, whatever business, whatever Instagram account, TikTok, whatever it is. And they're like, I need to come out the gate, know specifically what my target audience is, know exactly what I want to talk about. And I'm going to get brand deals from day one. I'm going to do all these things. You're not going to get anywhere if you don't press record. Mm-hmm. Like, you just have to start. And once you start honestly, especially when it comes to social media, because it's so evolving, especially when it comes to pay rates from each different social media platform itself, you're probably going to change in the first year almost completely what you maybe even started with. Good example, like you said, you started with a lot of the GoPro content. Now, me and you've talked about it off camera before. You're like, dude, I'm hiding those videos. Those aren't my target audience anymore. Yep. But if you never started there, you answer this. Do you even think you would be where you are now?
No, definitely not. For sure not. For sure not. Absolutely not. And, I heard a quote. Well, I guess it wasn't really a quote, but I heard a speech from years ago where, Casey Neistat, he's big vlogger on YouTube. and everyone, and not so much anymore, but it used to be a couple years ago, like everyone wanted to be like Casey Neistat, and they
Yes.
were wanting, they would make their videos just like him and everything. And it was all these Casey copycats. And now you have like Mr. Beast copycats. But he won an award. I think it was like a GQ award or something. And he said at the podium, he said, everyone has the same upload button that I do. And I thought, wow, that is so true. Like, there's nothing
That's
special.
crazy.
There's nothing special about what he does on YouTube from what you and I do. We literally hit the same button to upload
Yes.
that video that we created. And it just kind of blew my mind how he just like boiled it down to the most simple thing. Like, you have just as much ability to take that action as he does.
That's so good. Yes. That is so good. I totally agree. That, I mean, because seriously, people don't think about it. Like, you have these huge, 10 million, 10 million follower creators, especially on TikTok. That's super easier to do on nowadays and on YouTube. But you just have these huge creators, and you never stop to think, I have the same resources available to me that they, of the road that they walked. And technically, because you see them, you may even be able to figure out how they got there a little bit easier and get there way quicker than they have. It's just, like sometimes I think like 2 years ago when I started creating like coffee content for YouTube, like, because I was a barista for a while, and the way I got into content creation, I think I shared this a little bit on the last episode where I was talking to Chris Burke. Or maybe I did. Maybe it was off camera. But for me, how I got started, I'll just start, I guess, to make more sense, I'll do that. For me, how I got started in content creation full time is I was working at a coffee shop because I'm like a nerd for coffee. So I like literally went to barista school, all of the different things. I've done a lot of deals for like bigger coffee companies to do their training tutorials because they did see that I was a creator, and they were like, hey, how about you make these tutorials on how to use our products for us to put on our website? So eventually what happened is I was thinking, okay, what would it take for me to go full time just creating content in general? Like, I don't mean, there's a lot of different like stipulations that come when you say something like that, and people, like, you could go either way. So creating content full time could literally mean like online, YouTube, TikTok creating, or like freelance, or a mix between the two. At that time, I meant a mix between the two. I just need to I want to do YouTube full time, but I just need to get closer to where my daily is a little bit closer to something like YouTube full time. So let's do freelance work. What do I need to do to get there? So literally what I did was say, okay, I'm making this much money at work, which I don't mind sharing my numbers. So like I was working full time, and I started at like $350 a week. Then eventually I was like making around like $450 to $500 a week. So I was like, okay, like if I could do 3 or 4 gigs, over a month for about, $150, $200, I can move to part-time. And so that's what I did. I moved to part-time eventually after doing more work like that. Then I was like, okay, I have an option. I have a road that I could take. I could either start doing more, I can pick up more clients, or I can just increase my prices. So at that time, because I had invested a lot of the money that I was making from freelance back into my business, I had nicer cameras. So it meant that transition was much easier to increase my prices because I'm not showing up now with literally my iPhone. I started creating videos for people. Like I was shooting weddings and senior portraits literally with my iPhone and charging people like $80. Yeah, literally, because I couldn't afford a camera. And so I bought a camera. It's like the Sony A6400, and I thought I was the best thing in town in Little Rock, Arkansas. I was like, oh my gosh, look at these amazing images. I still have one of the clips, and to this day, I look at that clip and I'm like, dude, that clip is still so good. Like, especially like with me, that being my first camera I ever bought, that looks amazing. So increased my prices to where eventually once COVID came, and again, remember, I was working at a coffee shop. I got let go because the coffee shops closed. I was able to easily switch to going full time. Also because of COVID, which a lot of people, I don't mean to be non-sensitive to the effects that COVID has had on people. But for me and my business, just my business, COVID was a huge benefit to me because so many churches, so many businesses needed to go online overnight. They needed to go live streaming. They need to do things. Gyms, like they needed to start doing online training courses, all these different things so that they could still have a business. And so all of those people hired me. I had like, I don't know how many clients. I was out every night working with a client, whether it was a church, some type of business, helping. Like I was buying so many ATMs. I don't know if are you familiar with those, the Black Magic ATM switchers, and setting them up in all of these different businesses and then pressing record for them for the first 5 or 6 shoots and editing it. And then they're pressing record. Now I'm just editing. And not only was I able to, quote unquote, replace my income, I like 3x'd it. I was just looking back at the invoices yesterday and I was like, dude, that's crazy. I went from, making, so I was making about $450. I'm just going to round it to 5. So, 510. So about $2K a month. I went from making $2K a month to now I was making like $5 to $6K a month. Honestly, because of COVID. If it wasn't for COVID, that wouldn't have happened. I wouldn't have had the opportunity. So then once COVID passed, the doors were wide open. Everyone still needed social media was more of a thing for people. People knew now that they had to be on social media.
Right.
And so then I was like, okay, now let's try to, go full time on YouTube. And if you guys don't know, sad news, that didn't work for me yet. So right now I'm still in the mix of doing, freelance and doing YouTube. But for you, I do want to dive into a little bit of, because you went full time. Let's talk about some of the ways that you were able to basically, quote unquote, replace your income to be able to do that. Because I talk to creators all the time, and a lot of it isn't always like people just think, oh, they're getting that many views, they have that many subs, they must be making so much money off of like affiliate deals and AdSense and all those different things. But when you look behind the doors, or whenever I look behind the doors, it's not all coming from one place.
Right.
And honestly, that's not smart if you are someone who's doing that, putting all your eggs in one basket. And so I want to hear how you streamlined that process of making YouTube in combination with your blogs full time for you, income wise. Yeah.
So you're right. It's not smart to put all of your eggs in one basket. So looking back, because I started my YouTube channel before YouTube had their monetization requirements, the milestones, my channel was monetized like quote unquote immediately.
Oh,
I mean, I made
sorry.
like 12 cents.
Do you know why that was, by the way? I was just talking with some creators yesterday and they didn't realize this.
Why they put in the milestones?
Yes.
I think from what I recall, it was because they wanted to avoid people taking other people's content and just uploading it right away and sort of siphoning views from the original creators and then monetizing it.
Well, there are, and maybe I can't remember what they all are, but during that time, not only were the milestones implemented, but there were a lot of other restrictions. Do you remember that too?
I don't know. It's all kind of a blur. What restrictions? What?
So that was when Logan Paul posted that video.
Which video?
Where so you know about Logan Paul? Mm-hmm. So basically what happened is I would have to look up what date that is, but he was like one of the biggest YouTubers at the time. All the crazy brand. He was definitely the Mr. Beast of that time.
Right.
Every video, he's daily vlogging every day, and every daily video is getting like 1 million views. Mm-hmm. Crazy. And so basically what he did was he went to, I kind of feel weird talking about this, but I'm going to do it anyways. He went to China and he went to a forest called Suicide Forest, and he filmed a dead body hanging. And so immediately once that happened, his brother was a Disney star. His brother got kicked off of Disney like the next day. all of Logan Paul's content got demonetized. He was supposed to be in some movies. He lost all those brand deals. And then YouTube cracked down super hard on everybody. So a lot of the rules that you see today on YouTube, you can honestly directly correlate them back to that video. Like, he made it so much harder on people because YouTube lost so much money because what do you call them? Advertisers left the platform. Yeah, they immediately pulled out. So I was talking to some other creators about that the other day, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, yes, I do remember like that dip and like AdSense and all those different things, but I never thought to think that is why." But it makes sense. Anyways, continue. Sorry.
So my channel was monetized from the beginning, like a couple months in. I remember I was at my mom's house and I opened up the YouTube app, like the creator app, and it said I made 12 cents. And I was like, oh my gosh, I made 12 cents. And my mom's like, on what? I'm like, YouTube. And she's like, you made 12 cents? Like, to me, it was a big deal because 12 cents, like, it was zero yesterday and today is 12 cents. Like, 12 cents is 12 cents, you know? And she didn't think it was that big of a deal, but, but so that was, I think, maybe like 4 months into it. And so, there was the ad revenue, there was affiliate revenue, which I basically started from the very beginning because I knew how it worked. And like a lot of people have a hard time wrapping their head around how affiliate marketing works. And it kind of feels complicated on the surface, but once you know, you know, and then you can have multiple affiliate revenue streams. So I had affiliate marketing going from the beginning. And I would just kind of expand out from there with different affiliate programs and things like that. But I also knew that what I really wanted to do was create some type of a course or program or something that was my own thing. And so I've tried a bunch of different things there, changed things up quite a bit, but now I have a couple of different programs. I have a membership called Thriving Creators Society and a sort of like do-it-yourself course on 30 Days to a Thriving YouTube channel. And those are kind of my two main programs. And so those are kind of the bulk of my revenue as a whole. Plus I do work with brands, not a ton. That's not like a huge, I don't love working with brands because it's like more time consuming than it seems on the surface. And so I'm kind of picky about the brands that I work with, but, and then I work with one-on-one clients, with various things like setting up their channel or growing their channel or like things like that, too. So there's lots of different streams of revenue in there, but my own programs kind of make up the bulk of it because that's really where the most margin is, the most profit margin is in that because I have full control over how much it costs and what gets delivered and stuff like that. So those are my revenue streams.
Yeah. Would you ever entertain more brand deals if they were like more lenient ones? And what I mean by more lenient ones are like, I've only done one brand deal so far, and it was with I'm trying to think. Can I say who they are? I don't remember, so I'm not going to say who they are, just in case. I don't want to get in trouble. I know I signed an NDA, so. But I done a brand deal with a clothing company, and that brand deal, they were literally like, hey, like just naturally, you know, show our product in a video. We're going to pay you this much, and we're going to send you, you know, $250 worth of free merchandise. You pick it. It's what you will show in the video. Yeah, that's pretty much it. It was very, very, basically from that experience, I was like, dude, I would love to do this like every single video because it literally was like so easy. Like, because basically in the video, I was reviewing like an app called Filmic Pro for the iPhone that turns your, camera into a really but it turns your iPhone camera into like a DSLR or mirrorless camera. And so I literally just was like, hey, let's do a test on the camera to see how the video looks. And in the test, I was just showing off the clothes. It easily correlated. It easily flowed into the natural video. Yeah. But if you had, are the ones that you have now that easy? Or if they were that easy, would you be more open to pretty much doing them every video?
Yeah, if they were easily integratable, then which those are the ones that I look for. But to answer your question, yes, the easier it is, the easier it is for me to say yes to it. But it does get I've done a lot of brand deals with Epidemic Sound, which is a background music licensing company. And after a while, it's kind of like, how many different times can I talk about background music in my videos? And so, there's a little bit of like a learning curve for me in trying to figure that out. Like how, I was watching a woodworking video one time where they took a spot to integrate a mattress commercial, basically. And I was like, wow, that is kind of a sharp turn. But then if you think about it, they're talking about woodworking for remodeling your house. And so you have a house. These people sleep in a bed. Probably your audience sleeps in a bed. So it makes sense audience wise, but content wise, I was like, oh, I didn't know you could make it like that sharp of a turn. Yeah. So it's a little bit of a learning curve for me to figure out how can I creatively integrate it in an authentic way. And so I do that by watching what do other people do. And so it is a learning curve, but yeah, I would definitely do more brand deals if they were easier to incorporate and less back and forth of them wanting to look at the video, approve the video. And which for the most part, when the brands I've worked with, when they want to see the video first to approve it, it's just because they want to make sure I'm touching on the points that if they're using my channel for marketing their business, there's certain specific things that they want me to cover or highlight. And so they'll want to kind of approve that or make sure I say things correctly.
Well, yeah, I don't know if I would do those, honestly, where I had to send it in for approval and go back and change it. That's a lot.
Yeah, I don't usually have to change things. Sometimes it's more just take that part out. Versus re-recording. So, yeah, but it all comes down to clear communication and clear expectations. And, sometimes you can work with a brand, long term, and it just kind of works out. It works out well for them. It works out well for you because they're easy to work with.
That was going to be my next question. Have you ever thought about going exclusive, to one brand for majority of your videos? Because there are many creators I know Peter McKinnon is he's not exclusive. He definitely does other brand deals, but whenever he doesn't have a brand deal, it's always Squarespace. That's who he does in every video. There are also people there's a guy named Jordan Dunn. Do you know who he is? He has purple background. He does camera reviews. Yeah. So he exclusively, I want to say he really doesn't do other brand deals other than story blocks every single video, and he has the same readout every single video. And it's kind of funny because whenever he pops up around other creators, they'll do his readout of the story blocks segment, and it's kind of a little bit of fun banter. But would you ever go not necessarily exclusive, but your default sponsor is this person, and that there's a mutual agreement of that?
I would if it made sense. If it made sense to, but then at the same time, to me that sounds really boring. You obviously it works though. Like,
Yeah.
obviously, it's working for Storyblocks to pay him to be that repetitive. And it works for him. Like, he's okay with being that repetitive because he's getting from Storyblocks what he feels it's worth for him to do that. So I think if it works, it works. I mean, I'm always open to brand deals if they work and it's easy, but it's just not a huge bulk of my revenue streams at the moment.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, for sure. All right, we've been rolling for 40 minutes. I do have another question I want to ask you before we kind of like narrow it down. Where do you have any goals for the future? Like, what are you thinking? Do you have anything in mind for where you want to do, where you want to go that you can mention? And if you have something that you can't mention, you could say, coming soon, things like that.
Do I have any goals for the future? Yes. I don't know if I'd call anything a goal really, but more of an intention. So something I am working on right now is a new video podcast called YouTube Infusion, and it's going to be specifically for people who have some type of a online program, course, coaching, whatever, and generating leads and sales with YouTube without spending money on ads or like constantly selling, so that you can kind of just make videos and always be attracting people to a YouTube funnel that actually generates revenue in your business. So I'm working on that long term. In about maybe like 9 or 10 years, my husband will be able to retire. And so long term, I'd like to be able to just kind of like pull the plug on everything and live in a camper or something and drive around the country and not have to like him be in a certain spot for a job or me be in a certain spot because I got to do X, Y, and Z in the business. But I can obviously run my business from anywhere. So that's kind of like my long-term thing, is to be able to, not necessarily retire. I can't imagine calling myself retired, but to sort of pack up shop as it is and be able to be like more mobile and move around.
But would you still create content?
Yeah,
I'm just going to put it out there. If you clip this and put it on your channel, I'm sure your people will agree. Hey, I would love to see some camper videos from you.
For sure.
Traveling around. Like, not even anything tech, nothing YouTube gross, just straight up, here's the day in the life with Meredith, and we're going to here today, and I'm trying to figure out how to make a fire. Like, I would consume that all day.
I definitely, I have a hard time thinking about the future, like not creating content. Like sometimes I think of myself as like an old lady. Like where are YouTubers who are creating content now? Like what is it going to be when we are all like quote unquote old? Like are we still going to be
nursing home?
Right. It's like it's so but I don't know, it just seems so wild. It feels like a wild ride, to kind of think about it. But I think that is the one of the things I really like about content creation as a business is like we all change and morph, and it will change and morph, and maybe it won't be YouTube when I'm an old lady. It'll be something else. But like right now, YouTube is the most powerful platform to grow an online business. I think that's my opinion. But once you have that sort of foundation in that business, really you're in the business of content creation. So whatever comes along, you just can kind of, I think, go with the flow. So I'm sure I will be creating content. I have this like part of my creative gene, I think, is like I can't just do something creative without somehow sharing it, or like if I figure something out, I can't just figure something out for myself. I feel like it's not complete until I tell other people how to do it. And it kind of doesn't really matter what it is. I feel like I need to tell other people how to do it. And
Yeah.
so I can't imagine not creating content in some way in the future.
Yes. No, that's awesome. I think so too. I feel the same way. I think there is a way to do it though. I think we've seen it more recently, successfully and unsuccessfully. Like, I mean, Casey was gone. Like, he was completely gone. But he just, within the last year or so came back because he missed it. He wanted to create more. But he was living life. He was spending time with his family. And I think that, that season that he went through where he was gone is what it's going to look like for a lot of people, because his content still lived on. They were still racking up views. He was still able to live off those views, and so I think there is a healthy balance. But I think eventually what's going to happen is, honestly, like, YouTube's going to figure out how to make these YouTube channels sellable. And so, like, if you're a business, like, and I am very curious on that side too. Like, I know people build their YouTube channels around themselves, but if you build something like a Think Media, I can see that easily be acquired. Like, someone would come in and acquire that, continue to grow it. Yeah, they may lose, 500,000 subs because it's not Sean anymore, but still you have all that audience, and so, like, the brand still lives on.
Right.
I think we're going to see a lot more of that over the next coming years. But thank you so much for joining me today. Do you have anything you want to say before we close it out?
Thanks so much for having me. Anything else I want to say? Like I already said, YouTube is the most powerful place to build your online business. And so hit me up if you want my tips and tricks for doing that, or at least go to YouTube and search up Meredith Marsh and find me there so that I can help you look good, sound good, and feel good on camera.
That's awesome.
How'd you like that segue to my
Awesome.
tagline?
That was awesome. That was perfect. Well, thank you guys for viewing. If you would like to see some more awesome content where we're talking to other creators, diving into how they got started, where they are now, how they're making money online, you can definitely check out this playlist over here. You can also go ahead and subscribe to Meredith right over here in this little circle. Wait, do you see it? It's right. Why aren't you clicking it? It's right here. Click on Meredith. Meredith, tell him to click on you.
You better do it. You
better subscribe.
Do it now.
Peace. See you guys in the next one.